We've heard so far this morning about how we can use visual displays to advance both the analysis and the representation of our ideas in mixed methods research. We've been challenged to think about how can we integrate our thinking. Are we simply in a single lane, or can we move into that messiness which takes multiple threads and tries to bring them together? And now we're going to transition to a conversation about quality or rigor, or maybe those words are creating responses in you that don't seem aligned with this type of research. What does it look like when we articulate all the processes that were informing the planning, the design, the methods, the data collection, the analysis, and the reporting of our work? And so I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Sarah Munce, who is an implementation scientist at the Bloorview Research Institute and an associate professor at the Institute of Health Policy Management and Evaluation and the Rehabilitation Sciences Institute at the University of Toronto. She's an associate editor for the Journal of Mixed Methods Research and the editor-in-chief for JMIR Rehab and Assistive Technologies. She teaches mixed methods in health services research and has won numerous awards with much funding supporting her implementation science program of research. Dr. Munce.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, for the lovely introduction and for the invitation to speak here. And so thank you, and thanks to the Merit team. Great. Just orient myself. Great. Okay. All right. So I have the distinct challenge of speaking to you after lunch. So I like a challenge. So I'll try and keep this engaging and interesting, and talk to you about reporting in mixed methods research. So in terms of the agenda for the talk, I'm going to talk to you about the difference between mixed methods research versus multi-methods. And we see a lot of examples in the literature in our fields of those studies that are characterized as mixed methods research when in reality they are more in line with a multi-methods study. The team so far has done a great job about highlighting the centrality of integration in mixed methods research, but I'll touch on it again here. We'll talk to you about reporting, present some examples of good and bad reporting in mixed methods research, some of the current limitations of the current guidelines that we do have, so the current tools that we do have, and then talk to you about what I think is a really exciting project that involves some colleagues in the room, which is to update the GRAMS reporting guideline. So with that, we will launch. So again, can't say it enough, and if it isn't clear already, integration is central to mixed methods research. So when my colleague and I, Katie Dainty, and I teach the mixed methods course, Katie will always say in our first class, in order for this to be mixed methods research, you actually have to mix, right? Integration is the hallmark. Some colleagues have described it as the heart and soul of mixed methods research. And it is about generating meaning, right? We see that commonly reported line about, 1 + 1 = 3. So really, talking about the synergistic impact of doing this work. We've had some, heated, maybe not quite heated, but we've had some chats about language today. So, commonly referred to, levels of integration, although, again, you may take issue with the word levels, but it's really important to think about the levels of integration, that it's not just about what we commonly do at the end in terms of putting qualitative and quantitative findings together. There are levels that we need to consider. And again, as Tim had noted, this can be at the level of theory, paradigm, your team, of course, the methods, right? So it's really important to think about that when you're engaging in mixed methods research. Although there are these various levels, there are some main ones that we talk about. So, so integration at the level of data collection or building is the mixed methods term that we use. So we may use, for example, the results from our qualitative work or strand to inform the development of a survey. Connecting, this is integration at the level of sampling, where we can use, for example, findings from your quantitative survey to inform the sample of individuals you speak to in the qualitative strand. And then I think by now we know merging, when we bring together our qualitative and quantitative findings to develop our meta-inferences. This slide is just detailing some of the differences between mixed versus multi-method research. And to many of you in the room, this may be obvious, but certainly in my various roles, including as an editor for a journal, I still see the persistent gap in terms of work being framed as mixed methods when in reality it is multiple methods. So again, mixed methods, you know, the central feature, of course, is the integration. Multi-method, you know, there's the absence of that linking or integration piece. And I think, you know, one of the speakers, one of my colleagues today made the great point. It's, you know, we, of course, are all very passionate about mixed methods research, but we'll also say, or I certainly will say, it's not always the right approach to the research question at hand. And we've been having as well some great conversations around, you know, the centrality of your research objective or question in terms of guiding your methods. There are strengths of both, right? So multi-method arguably less intensive because you're not for example, spending that time, you know, considering, you know, the merging of your findings, for example, are arguably simpler, as there tends to be, you know, one tends to be one paradigm, and still robust findings can be gleaned from a multi-method study. Although, of course, with a mixed method study, we really do find that there's that strength, that there's that synergistic impact. So, you know, in terms of, you know, when mixed methods research can go wrong, so what do we see, you know, in terms of our published examples? And I'll walk through some poor examples of research that's been characterized as mixed methods. So really, you know, weak or unclear study design. A specific design, for example, has not been listed, and there's really no rationale for why, for example, the qualitative component was introduced. So an absence of the rationale. Critically, you know, the results are analyzed separately, and there's really you know, no evidence that those two pieces speak to each other. And I think really what this is about in terms of the consequences or impact is a missed opportunity, right? To uncover some of the complexities of a phenomenon. That's really what what the potential impact can be. So although, and there is recognition and excitement as we're seeing today about the potential for the benefits of mixed methods research and certainly within health services research, but more broadly, the lack of integration remains a gap, and that gap has persisted for more than 20 years. I think we still say that mixed methods is a nascent field, but as we grow capacity, there should be more uptake of true mixed method studies. So I wanted to spend a little time walking you through, not in great detail, some examples from the literature of studies that are characterized as mixed methods, but again, really show limited evidence of integration. And by way of background, I was mentioning that my colleague and I, Katie Dainty, we teach the Mixed Methods for Health Services course at IHPME. And one of the assignments in the course is getting students to take an article from their field and assess the reporting and assess, whether, is this a good example of mixed methods research, or perhaps is this more in line with a multi-methods study? And I think the examples I've chosen are intentional, and intentional in the fact that they're from top tier journals. These are journals that have high impact factors, right? And so I have a number of reflections about that. Like, these are smart people with great letters after their names, right? Where was the team member to say, well, are we actually doing mixed methods research or not, or what is this? Even at the level of the journal, right? Was there? It seems like there was a lack of expertise in reviewing these papers at the level of reviewers, editors. So these are all some reflections or questions that I mull over and I'm curious about, right? Like, where's the gap? So this particular study published in JAMA Network Open, the objective was to inform the design of future well-being interventions by exploring individual and workplace factors associated with surgical trainees' well-being, differences by gender identity, and end user perceptions of these initiatives. So in this study, the authors indicate they do not specify a particular mixed methods design. Certainly, so no specific mention of the MMR design, and no evidence of a joint display, for example, or bringing together the qual and quan findings. And I'd like in the discussion period for us to explore, why we think, what's going on, what are some of the system factors, process factors that may be contributing to these gaps. There is, however, some allusion to integration. So I had noted that the authors say in-depth interviews and focus group discussions were analyzed using iterative thematic content analysis. Oh, sorry, that wasn't the integration I wanted to refer to. They talk about patient qualitative and quantitative data were linked by patient ID. So again, some evidence or allusions, I'll say, to integration, but I think certainly, they could have done a better job at being more explicit about that. Okay. So no rationale for using MMR, no explicit integration of findings, and interestingly, an MMR reporting guideline was not used, but they did refer to a qualitative reporting guideline. So there was some thought there. The next study that I wanted to talk about, again, top tier journal published in the Lancet Global Health, this time looking at the role of multidimensional poverty in antibiotic misuse, a mixed method study of self-medication and non-adherence in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. So, the topic sounds like it would be very, fitting of a mixed methods study. But again, no rationale stated for using supposedly using MMR, no explicit integration of the findings, and again, no reporting guideline was used. And certainly no inclusion of a joint display. And again, I'd love in the discussion period to talk about, the various reasons or a bit of the, if the authors were here today, what would they say to defend themselves, right? So I'll skip over this other poor example. I think at this point you get the idea, and or you're already familiar with the issues in reporting and lots of poor examples. The next example is I think a good example of mixed methods reporting. It is a good example of mixed methods reporting, and comes from colleagues of mine interested in transition readiness among youth with co-occurring chronic health and mental health conditions. I believe that this is, so the first author, colleague of mine, Dr. Brooke Alamang, and I think this was one of the studies from her PhD work. So this was one of her PhD studies. So specifically, the endeavor here was to describe and explore, looking specifically at transition readiness of these youth, and it was characterized as three-phased and specifically a sequential explanatory mixed methods design. So if we go through our criteria, indeed, the authors did provide a rationale for adopting this particular design. So they say the rationale was complementarity, and then proceed to define that. They did do a great job of integrating those mixed methods findings. And I think, this study is, of course, not of course, but is a great example of the beauty of mixed methods research, where I know that the findings they had in the quantitative component or strand were quite surprising, and it was really the richness of the interviews that they conducted that explained those findings. So the team was surprised that high levels of mental distress was actually associated with readiness for transition. So they were not expecting that, and from the qualitative work, they understood that those youth that had been struggling a lot, and maybe they've been seeing a lot of providers getting therapy, working through their struggles, had obtained a certain level of resilience that made that transition process easier. So I think really a wonderful example of the beauty of mixed methods research. So as I mentioned, they did a great job of integrating their findings, and did use the grams to they followed the grams to report their findings. Okay. So I guess transitioning to what tools are available to us to help guide our the reporting of our mixed method studies. So Brooke and colleagues, use the grams, but there are other reporting guidelines, and I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to go into detail about those other tools, but just to be aware that there are other ones in addition to the grams. So there's the MMAT. There's also the APA JARS for mixed methods research. I recently became aware of there's a mixed methods reporting guideline that's specific to physical therapy. So lots of interest brewing in this area, which is good to see. However, despite the availability of these tools that we have, there are of course areas of improvement. There are areas of improvement that are needed. So, for example, one of these recent reviews identified that mixed method studies did not justify their choice of design, for example. And really, part of what I think this points to is that certainly the grams reporting guideline really has not kept up to date with the advances in our field, especially around integration, which we've heard a lot about today. So just as a review of the grams criteria. So there are 6 criteria. So the first one being describe the justification for using a mixed methods approach. Describe the design in terms of purpose. This version talks about priority and sequence of methods. Describe each method in terms of sampling, data collection, and analysis. The 4th criterion does relate to integration. So describe where integration has occurred. So I think there is, allusion to those levels of integration, and so has it occurred, how it has occurred, and who has participated in it. The 5th criterion is describe any limitation of one method associated with the presence of the other method. And then finally, to describe any insights gained from mixing or integrating the methods, which again, given the advances in our field, is quite vague. So I'll move to the part of the talk where I talked to you about some current work that's ongoing, as I mentioned, including members here today, so including Dr. Tim Guterman and Dr. Cheryl Poth. We are in January of this year, we're awarded funding from CIHR to update the grams, which is really exciting. So the overall project is to develop grams 2.0, the guideline and checklist, and really we're interested in about improving consistency, transparency, and the quality of reporting on studies that use mixed methods in health research, and asterisks there perhaps, and again that can be part of some of the discussions we have. We are using best practices to develop the guidelines. So we're starting with a methodological literature review, and then following up that review with an online modified Delphi, as well as some consensus work to prioritize the components of the guideline. I think a particularly unique aspect of the work, or certainly an aspect of the work that was not part of Graham's 1.0, is the use of integrated knowledge translation. So we have at present, some really excellent patient partners that have expertise or have experience and expertise in being patient partners in mixed method studies, that are part of the team. And the partnership, or that IKT panel, is in addition to those patient partners, will also involve other knowledge users as well. So, really thinking carefully about, who needs to, at the outset, at the early stage of this work, help guide us, right? So thinking about funders, granting agencies, journal editors, etc. We want to be very mindful about this partnership approach. So we are guided by a framework that we commonly use to guide our engagement processes, which is the Ontario Brain Institute framework. It really does break down the research process very systematically, and certainly encourages me to think about the various stages of the research process and the various possibilities in terms of how different knowledge users can be involved. And I think with that, I mean, I could talk a lot more about this, but I think this is about giving those partners, of course, the chance, not that we give them, but for them to weigh in on how they'd like to be involved. So we have a menu of options for how they can be involved, and they tell us, where and when they would like to be involved. So again, just highlighting the great members of our team, just a sort of a superstar team that we've assembled, including the originator of the original version of the Grams. Great expertise on the team, with expertise in knowledge synthesis, guideline development, IKT, journal editors, and of course, mixed methods enthusiasts. We are, of course, are thinking about potential areas for the new version of the Grams. And this is certainly in line with some work that John Cresswell has done about quality in mixed methods research. So some potential areas that may be a part of Grams 2.0, may include, some of the skills of the researchers themselves, philosophies or paradigms. Certainly, we were just talking about this just after lunch. Integration will feature much more significantly than it does currently, given the advances in the field, right? Perhaps, it includes, typologies of joint displays, encouragement for being more explicit about how your meta inferences were developed in line with, our great colleague Atisham Jonas, who's really done a lot of thinking in that area in terms of meta inference development. Use of literature, we heard about, cultural dimensions, which mixed methods is so well positioned to it's well positioned to have these tools to study cultural dimensions of health, for example. So just sort of starting to toy around with potential areas. And then, thinking specifically about the relevance of criterion 5, we know that that criterion is seldomly addressed, and so thinking about is there a place for how how sort of the limitation of one strand may impact or may produce a limitation in another strand. So all the lofty things about this new version of the grams in terms of improving consistency and transparency and of course quality of reporting. We hope that it is widely adopted, and really it's meant to be a useful tool for fellow researchers, reviewers, journal editors, etc. And I think as I wind down my talk, of course, the implementation scientist in me, as we've got the funding, think deeply about what we're actually going to develop. I, along with fellow mixed methods enthusiasts, I want to use grams 2.0, but will others? So of course the old, just because we build this shiny new tool building on Alicia O'Cothane's foundational work, will it be used? And so I think that is the task of our amazing team to think deeply about, and of course, in line with our partnership approach, we will certainly be drawing on the expertise of those partners to help us ensure that grams 2.0 is widely adopted. So I'll just put that out there, and it's going to happen. So that's it for me. I'm super excited about some of the conversations that are going to be had about reporting. I look forward to walking around and hearing your discussions. Undoubtedly they will spark something that will end up in grams 2.0. So I really welcome your thoughts here. So these are some potential questions that you may want to discuss or reflect on. So why is there a lack of understanding regarding mixed versus multi-method versus multi-methods? And then thinking about what current practices or systems do we currently have that perhaps perpetuate some of the problems that we see in reporting. So as an example, we were starting to have a great conversation about timing, and mixed methods takes a really long time, right? So and when you're a graduate student, maybe and you've got to publish your 3-paper thesis, right? Maybe that involves you've published your 2 qualitative studies and your 1 quantitative study. You have plans for that mixed method study, but you're graduated, and it's you don't get the chance. So all to say, we acknowledge the realities that contribute to reporting. So just kind of reflect on that. I will say on that note, as my career has evolved, I feel like I'm seeing more students that don't chunk out their studies like that, like 2 quantitative studies, 2 qualitative studies. They will, as you saw with Brooke's work, have a mixed method study as one of their papers. So will that trend continue? Just some reflections there. again, why do so many studies not include that integration piece? What's going on? Is there, do people not understand the difference? Is there a lack of expertise, et cetera? And then, give us the goods. Like, what do you think should be in Graham's 2.0? Perhaps you've been, this has been a burning question for you. You've been reflecting on this. Where are the gaps? What do we need to focus on as we do this work? So that's it for me. And again, I look forward to the discussion.